Welcome to 2 cents Short of a Dollar, the show where we give our 2 cents and keep it 100. We're your hosts. That's Motiz, and I'm Rue. Today, I want to talk about boxing. Canelo Alvarez. So it looks like Canelo is out to get a payday, probably a historical payday. But news has been all over the place. People have been scattering to break the news, but we kind of just want to sit back and wait and to see what was what, right? So now it looks like it's confirmed that he signed a 4-fight deal with Turkey Al Sheikh, and the first fight is going to be William Skull in May. We know Canelo historically fights May and September. September is looking like it's going to be Terrence Crawford, but there was rumors of this Jake Paul fight that could have happened. So just what do you make of all the rumors, and do you think Canelo would stoop to the level of fighting a Jake Paul?
So, I mean, initially when the rumors came out with him looking to fight Jake Paul, the fight essentially happening, I kind of didn't buy it only because of what Canelo has said in the past. Now, granted, people do say things and end up doing the complete opposite, right? So, but in particular to the Jake Paul situation, I felt like that was just too low for, Canelo to take, right? That's a fight that's way out of his radar. And I feel like Canelo is at a point in his career where he's kind of going over the hill, but he's not fully there yet in comparison to Floyd Mayweather when Floyd fought Conor McGregor. And I would say Conor was more of a combat athlete in comparison to Jake Paul, right? So him kind of just taking on this fight at this point of his career, where people screaming for him to fight the likes of Crawford, Benavidez, it'll be a slap in the face to boxing fans. And Canelo, believe it or not, I truly believe Canelo actually cares about the boxing fans' opinion to a certain degree, and especially his fandom in Mexico. Mexico! It just didn't make sense to me. Yes, the money was there, but at what cost? So I felt like that fight was very unlikely to happen. Now, in terms of what followed afterwards, we clearly seen what happened, because I know there was a mix-up of, oh, he's not fighting Crawford anymore. So that's really what I'm curious about, because I'm like, why was there an announcement from Ring Magazine saying, Canelo, you're no longer fighting Crawford, or that fight is no longer happening? Was there some type of issues during negotiations? And what came afterwards that prompted Turkey Al Sheikh to be like, no, the fight is still back on? So what essentially happened? Did Jake Paul play a factor in this? That's really what I'm trying to figure out. What about you? What did you think about this whole chaos happening?
All right, so here's my opinion. If I'm walking down the street and I see a bag of money just laying on the street, bro, I'm gonna pick that money up. Bro, I don't care who it belongs to. Or if this is a lick, it's mine now. And I think that's what happened with Canelo Alvarez. I think as he was minding his business, doing his thing, I think probably negotiating the Crawford fight, figuring out how he could get the most money from Turkey Al Sheikh. I think the Jake Paul thing came across his desk. And I think whatever number he saw made him say, hold on, wait a minute. I know what I said in the past, but I'm considering it. And I think maybe Jake Paul's, somebody's camp. I would lean towards Jake Paul's camp, but someone's camp was so excited. I think they leaked the news. And I don't think that's news that Canelo wanted to come to the forefront, especially when he was probably still negotiating with Turkey Al Sheikh to see what was, what the money was going to look like on that side. So I think Canelo considered it. Like I said, I think he's like, oh, this is a lick. You know what? I'm gonna pick this money up real fast before I have the fight that people want to see me have, which is Crawford. But it looks like that guy dialed back and he put out a video saying, oh, I'm not fighting no YouTuber. So I think that's kind of just like PR, right? Just because like it was surrounding his name. So I think that's just PR. But now he's gonna fight William Skull. I'm not too familiar with his work. So I guess I'm going to ask you this question. So that's my opinion on what happened there and how those rumors came about. Would you be more excited for Canelo Jake Paul than Canelo William Skull?
I mean, I don't want to use the term hardcore boxing fan too loosely, but I'm not a casual fan. So the Canelo versus Jake Paul fight won't, interest me as much as it would probably a Skull fight. Honestly, I would probably rather see a Skull fight, only because I know Skull is more skilled than Jake Paul. Right? I think that's what the sport is supposed to be about. It's about, seeing fighters fight other skilled fighters. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
And there's nothing Jake Paul really brings to the table in a fight against Canelo in comparison to Skull, right? Because I don't know much about Skull. I know he's a Cuban. I don't really know his fight style. I know he just fought recently on DAZN, but I haven't seen the fight, so I'm gonna probably go and tune in. But I'll probably be more interested in watching the Skull fight than Jake Paul and Canelo. Because when you look at just all the hectic, like what the press conference is going to be out, when you remove all that, and when it's time to fight, we know what's going to happen. So I'm not into that.
So I'll say this. This may shock you, but I would be more interested in seeing the Jake Paul fight.
What the fuck?
Reason being, I would be looking for Canelo to beat the brakes off of this guy and for this guy to stop doing what he's doing, bro. For real.
Okay. I get that part. Like you want to see him just okay.
See him right
How badly he would beat him into submission.
I want to see him right the wrongs and show Jake Paul that like what you're doing is like it's a gimmick and it's an exhibition, the amateur stuff. And I'm not against that. What I'm against is them really giving him a record. I'm against me going to BoxRec and seeing Jake Paul's record for these fights. That's what I'm against. You know what I'm saying? I would want Canelo to beat the brakes off him so bad. They'd be like, nah. Only straight exhibitions from here out. Nothing that's going to be, actually considered sanctioned. You know what I'm saying? Because that's when it becomes like a joke for me. You know what I'm saying? Like Mike Tyson. I didn't go fact check this, but Mike Tyson allegedly took another loss on his record, and Jake Paul got another win on his record for that spectacle we just watched. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I believe that to be the case. They said that it was going to be an official bout, so
yeah,
I haven't checked, but
I would be looking for Canelo to beat on this dude so bad that he's just like,
it's actually on his record. Jake Paul lost. November 2024.
That's silly to me, and I don't really like I said. I'm not too familiar with William Skull's work, but I'm not gonna knock the fight, I'm one I'm on the record of who I want to see Canelo fight, but I'm not gonna knock the fight because I think it's all about the September fight and it's a tune-up, right? It's the David Avanesian fight for Crawford before he went into the Undisputed Showdown. It's like, all right, I'm gonna go to a training camp. I'm gonna stay busy. I'm gonna have this fight. That chances are so high that I'm gonna win. It's not gonna mess up the actual big fight. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna be active, knock the rust off, and I don't think Crawford is gonna have a tune-up fight. You know what I mean? So
yeah, he going straight into September. Yeah, he taking a page out of Spence's book.
Yeah. So before I get your pitch, I'm gonna ask you this question. Crawford could take a tune-up, but do you think the reason he's not taking a tune-up is because he doesn't need it? I mean, allegedly he may be nursing some injuries, but is it because he doesn't need it, or do you think he's not trying to take another one of those difficult 54 fights just in case somebody messes the pot up?
It's the latter.
What's your opinion?
Okay. It's the latter, obviously. It's too much of a risk, and just seeing how his last fight went, we know there can be a chance that Crawford can be upsetted, especially at the 154-pound division. There's some dogs in that division. Why take the chance, even if it's 40% chance, which is pretty high, even 30% chance. So he knows it. He knows there's a chance, and he knows at the age that he's at, the grueling training camp that he has to kind of go into for these fights, especially if he's not used to it, because Crawford doesn't fight more than once a year. At least, when was the last time he fought twice in a year? I don't recall. Do you?
Nah.
Right. I know Canelo does consistently. He fights twice a year. So, that's the norm for Canelo. So I think with Crawford, he's this is just the norm. Let me try to get this right. I think the closest you can probably say in twice in a year is probably the David Avanesian going to the Errol Spence fight. I believe that was within a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think Avanesian was December, right? Like late December, and then the Spence fight was in July next year.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So, but I think there's just a high risk there, and he's not willing to really, take that chance. What about you? Are you in the same boat, or are you going on the opposite direction here?
I think I'm actually this is a tough one. I think I'm going to go perhaps with the latter as well. Maybe no sense in risking a tough fight, but I do think he's trying to be as fresh as possible coming into the Canelo fight. I don't think he wants to go through any, like you said, a grueling training camp, suffer any potential injuries that are still lingering going into, so I think he wants to be as fresh as possible going into that fight. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the big money right there, right? That's the retirement check. So I think
Yeah.
he just wants to be as fresh as possible going into that fight and take no chances, whether it's difficult fight, difficult training camp, any kind of injuries or anything like that. I think it's just like, all right, I'm gonna just wait this thing out, be as fresh as possible, do a tough training camp, and be ready for that Canelo fight. That's my personal opinion because, like you said, he's not fighting more than once a year. The last time he did it looks like it was 2019. He fought Igis Kavalaskis and Amir Khan that year.
Okay.
So it's been years since he fought twice, in the same year. So it's just like, I'm gonna just stay fresh, stay ready for this Canelo fight, get that bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Floyd Mayweather, right? Wait, let me know if you have more on the Canelo. No, matter of fact, yeah, no. I apologize. I'm not done with this yet. So William Skull, Terrence Crawford. The rumors that's a 4-fight deal with Turkey Al Sheikh. So who are the last 2 fights on the deal? If he fights Skull, let's assume he beats Skull. Fights Crawford, whatever happens, right? But there's still 2 more fights on the table. What do you suspect those next 2 fights are?
If goes and I would say dominate in his next 2 fights, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes and requests that one of those fights be with David Benavidez. I would not be surprised.
Crawford or Canelo?
I mean, I said Crawford. Canelo, yes.
Oh.
Canelo. If Canelo don't request, like, depending on where Benavidez is at, right? Because we know he got his whole situation 165, but he may end up, if you feel like, he feeling froggy, he might be like, yo, my last fight, David Benavidez, where you at? Come down to 168, rehydration clause. Let's make this happen. Otherwise than that, if it's not David Benavidez, like that third fight, I just have no clue who that third fight would be. I think it would just be another tune-up, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Just depending on who's in that division. I don't know if it's going to be Jamal Charlo, depending on what headspace he's at. It could even be, David Morrell, but I don't think Canelo's willing to, fight, both Morrell and Benavidez. Absolutely not, So I have no idea, but I'm leaning towards probably, if I had to choose a name, maybe Jamal, depending on what headspace he's at, or another tune-up before he goes into David Benavidez fight. And that's just me giving Canelo the last bit of, respect of, he's been ducking Benavidez, but I believe he may end up, circling back around and really taking that fight as his potential last fight,
Yeah. No, I think you knocked it out the park with Jamal Charlo. I think Jamal Charlo would be the next fight, the third fight. I'm almost surprised that this first fight wasn't Charlo, to be honest with you. But I think the third fight would be Charlo, and I think the fourth fight would be Bivol.
I was thinking Bivol, but I'm like, I don't think so. But go ahead, give me your reason as to why you think it's going to be Bivol at that point. I think that's going to be 2026. Yeah, 2026, right? I would assume.
Yeah. So. I think win, lose, or draw, what happens with Bivol, I think Canelo's going to try to fight him, try to, right that wrong, fix that blemish on his record and just say, look, I'm a warrior. I took on this guy who beat me. And I think he's going to present that to us as that weighs more than taking the Benavidez fight, because this guy was a champion at 75. He fought for undisputed, and I was defeated by him. So now I'm going to go get it back in blood, per se. I know Canelo won't use those words, but you know what I mean. So I think he's going to present that to us as like, this means more than fighting Benavidez. So I'm going to fight Benavidez. And if my assumptions are correct, as I assume Bivol is also going to lose this rematch to Beterbiev, I think Bivol is going to need a direction to go, right? He's going to still be able to fight, right? But he may also be in the running for another big fight and the Canelo rematch. And Bivol's bid on record to say he'll go down to 68. Canelo may actually, come to 68, even though Canelo was saying he wants to fight him at 75 to prove that, he could beat him at 75, but if he go back to 75, then that's going to open up a can of worms when people are saying, okay, Benavidez is at 75. Beterbiev, do you want the Beterbiev fight? You know what I'm saying? So I think he may make Bivol come to 68. as Bifol has been on the record of saying he will do it. And I think that'll be the fourth fight. So I think that's the direction he's going to go. Jamal Charlo, Dimitri Bifol.
Okay.